Hello and welcome everyone to the final third game of the Saitama VGCS finals. So once again, if you're not familiar with them already from the last two games, these are Miltae on the left playing Nightrose and Gungnir on the right playing Nightrose, both very well known Japanese players that we have talked about throughout various competitive wrap-ups. So we're right now tied 1-1 between the two players, so it's been an intense set of rounds so far, with the second round taking, well, the second game of three taking a bit longer than the last one, but looks like Miltae will be taking the first turn, and he goes into the bone, and he immediately uses the Banshee crit to draw himself an extra card, but more importantly get himself an extra soul. Now Gungnir is going to promote his starter to the front, and now he puts it to the back. He does ride the bone as well, and calls out the Tommy, and he reveals his Night Storm to search out the old Nightrose. So, pretty good play for him as well, because I assume he didn't have the Nightrose if he is revealing that. So, definitely good for him. He drops the Nightrose crit for the skill, and he's going to attack with the bone, and Miltae does protect it, and then he takes the damage of the Tommy. So, Miltae rides into the Skeleton Cannoneer, and he's going to call out his own Tommy, so it's a very similar level of play. He reveals the old Nightrose, and he searches out the new Nightrose and puts it directly in the drop zone for the cost. So, the drop zone is definitely a good place for the new Nightrose because it does have a more effective rearguard skill than it would be on the Vanguard. So overall, it's looking quite good for both players. They're kind of mirroring each other's plays so far. So, and Miltae's only on 1 damage, so overall he's getting away with quite a lot. So already considering his attack pattern, and also Gungnir did show off what he drive checked, and now he's going to attack the rearguard. He gets the grade 0, one of the promos that we have for shop qualifiers, and he reveals it again. And Gungnir does take the 1 damage with the heal, but it isn't able to heal because it didn't have any damage to begin with. So now Gungnir rides into the Rook, calls out the Cannoneer and another Rook. So it's looking very aggressive from Gungnir's side. So it's understandable. It is Nightrose. This is what it does. So a total of 3 attacks, and he's not going to be dropping anything else. He attacks with a rearguard Rook on the Vanguard. Miltae takes it, gets a heal, so he's up to 14k defense power. And now Gungnir attacks the rearguard with his Rook, gets another Cannoneer, and he's going to attack the Vanguard now with his Skeleton Cannoneer, which is on 14k, and Miltae gets another heal, so he's still on 1 damage. And, a lot of the aggressiveness of Gungnir has been cancelled out in a way, at least for now, and, those heals are going to be gone, but oh well. So Miltae rides into the old Nightrose with the new reprint art, which does look stunning. So, he can't stride just yet, obviously, because Gungnir's still on grade 2, but let's see what kind of play he decides to come back with, because in the end, it would be good for him to return the aggressiveness in a way, and Gungnir doesn't seem to have that much soul, at least from when Miltae checked, but I think it's still a standard number. So, he is going to call out his Lazy, and he's going to attack with an Nightrose on the Vanguard, and let's see if Gungnir drops the 10k for this one or not, or if he'll choose to take it. He takes it, so he gets the Rook and the Lazy in his drive check, and he gets a heal in the damage check, so that's another heal going through this game, and Gungnir is still on 1 damage. This is a very heal-happy early game, so let's see, this is going to be, I believe, either a 14 or 19, I think I might have forgotten a trigger that would have passed if it did, but I don't think it did. No, it did not. That was just me misremembering something. But, so, now we go on to Gungnir's turn, and, it wasn't that aggressive of a response from Miltae, but still aggressive enough to make a difference. And now Gungnir has to choose, well, I'm pretty sure he will be riding into the grade 3, because there's not much point stalling for him, because he's able to take the first stride regardless, unless he doesn't have a stride card in hand, which could be a problem. But I believe even if that is the case, he can always just drop 2 cards, because whatever he drops, he can always get back from the drop zone, so it's not much of a problem. So he does ride into the older Nightrose, and now let's see what he decides to drop for stride. So he's going to drop his Night Storm, which, yes, he does actually have, because he did reveal it well, at the very start. So let's see which stride he decides to go for. He does have quite a lot of choice here, but I don't think he has enough soul for Gouache, so he does go into the Ghosty stride. So, in the drop zone, he's putting King Serpent, Lazy, and let's see what the last card he's going to choose to put. So, we've seen this stride go on in the previous games as well, so no need to go over it again. He does take the grade 1 Ghosty, so that's pretty solid choice overall. These 3 are definitely good. So let's see what he's going to decide to do from here. He's hesitating on the Ghosty. He did hesitate last time he used the Ghosty stride as well, so, Obadiah does give you a lot of choice, so you do have to decide quite carefully. So he takes out the new grade 1 Shade. So this is, I think we've seen in one of the games we saw her being used, but it was a very small thing and I might not even have noticed in the last game. So he's going to use Nightrose's skill to call out the King Serpent, and the King Serpent is going to, you know, recover that Counterblast and give him a Soul Charge. So it's going to be good for any future Gouache turns. And he also calls out the Bone for further aggression, but I believe he only has one Counterblast to work with. So that's pretty much, you know, that's where that Counterblast is going to go. It's going to just go to the Bone, most likely at least. So he's going to swing with a 9 on the Lazy, so unboosted. And now he's going to attack with, I believe, a 16. And that's gonna get Miltae another damage, so he's finally on 2 damage. He finally got it going. So he uses the Bone to kill off the Serpent and gets himself a Rook. So that's gonna be swinging for a fairly good number. Now he's gonna swing with the Obadiah, and he gets himself a Nightrose, a Stand Trigger, which stands his Cannoneer, which is definitely nice, and a Perfect Shield. And Miltae takes his 3rd damage, which is the new Shade. So now Gungnir is attacking with the Rook that was just brought into play. And it looks like Miltae is deciding if he wants to guard for this one or not. Nope, he's going to take it. He's going up to 4 damage and gets another Cannoneer in the drop zone. And the final attack was guarded with the new grade 0 that I believe is a shop qualifier promo for English. So now he's going to stride with the Night Storm into the Gouache. He has a considerably nice amount of soul, so it's definitely, you know, a pretty good choice. So he's going to use the Nightrose's skill to counterblast 1. I know, first he's going to use the Gouache skill, it seems, to counterblast 1 and, well, flip the G-Unit and call out as many cards as he does Soul Blast. So, and now it seems that he is... Oh, that was the Cannoneer being used, and now he's using the Nightrose to finally call out another unit. So, yeah, I was just confused on, there was one counterblast going and I thought that was for the Nightrose, but he was retiring something, so I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So, he returns the Grenache from the drop zone and uses the Banshee crit to draw himself an additional card and also get himself another soul. So, now, you know, not the most aggressive field, but it does have the little buff from the Gouache as well. So he's going to use the Lazy now as well to counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and he's going to call out the Banshee crit and then put it right back into the Soul to draw himself an extra card. So he is building up a very nice hand, but he also calls out the Nightrose crit, it seems. So that's going to help him out even more, both in the Soul and, you know, in the hand it's just a 0 essentially. So he attacks the Skeleton Cannoneer and he does get it off. And it doesn't look like Gungnir is using Nightrose's skill to bring it back, so it looks like he's not going to be G-guarding. And Miltae gets a crit because he gets 2 crits. And okay, so that's going to be 3 damage going up to Gungnir and not a single trigger. So suddenly Gungnir shot up to 4 damage, that's definitely quite threatening. And now he has to defend against this final attack that Miltae is throwing at him. So let's see what he decides to return that with. I'm guessing he doesn't have the G-guard because he didn't bring back the Skeleton Cannoneer, or at least I would think so, but let's see if he decides to drop anything for it. I'm not too sure how big this attack is. I believe it should be probably 24, or no, it might be 20, no, it would be 25 because I think he brought the Cannoneer from the Gouache, but the Grenache is brought back by the Nightrose, so that, I might be wrong about the number, but it's somewhere in the mid to high 20s. So let's see how Gungnir decides to go with this, because his hand is not the highest amount of cards, but he's going to take that, and he's going to have 5 damage to work with. And now Miltae is just undoing his hollows to just, you know, basically do all the effects, you know, all the counter charges, soul charges, and just everything else. So, and there's, he was just showing off what he soul charged. So, and he's milling 3 for the Nightrose skill to bring back the Lazy, and this kind of reveals that he might have the G-guard in his hand. So, you know, if he does, then the Lazy is basically there to bring out, it, like, he can kill it off with the Lily, and then it brings out the Skeleton Cannoneer, which can retire something. So that's a long-winded way of doing that. So, I don't know, he could have actually just brought back the Cannoneer if he really needed to. So he might be going for some other combos instead, but we'll see what he decides to do with this. You know, it's not always the case that they go Lazy into Skeleton on the opponent's turn, but, you know, it does happen. So, now it is Gungnir's turn, and let's see what kind of response he has to this. He just took a whopping 4 damage in 1 turn, so it's definitely gonna hurt, because, you know, Miltae did get a little bit trigger happy, but it definitely can happen. I mean, it is Vanguard, so let's see what he decides to respond with. Will he go into the Gouache, because he does have the 3 soul that he can use up now, so it could be well worth it. So let's see what he decides to respond with. His cards in hand seem to be 5, if I'm not mistaken. So not the most, but still enough to have something to work with and pull out some combos. But he, that would be the first time we see that stride. That would be definitely the first time. But he looks like he's hesitating. He's not sure which stride he wants to go into, and it's gonna be the Dragoot. So is that the final decision? Still seems to be deciding. Nope, it's not the Dragoot. Is it gonna be... I mean, there's still quite a few things he can go into. He could also go into the Zonger. He can probably go into the Gouache as well with the 3 soul that he has. So, quite a lot of things that he can do, but, you know, this is part of, you know, I mean, when you play Grand Blue, you have all these strides to choose from in the end. So, you know, you do have to choose carefully because Miltae made some... Oh, it looks like he's going to the Gouache. Okay, so Miltae did make quite a lot of advantage. So it does make sense that he's trying to go for something more aggressive that can finish off the game, because even though he's got quite a bit of cards in hand, Miltae in this case, he does have 4 damage, so it is possible to close out the game if he does pull out enough attacks, but he might need a bone for that, and I don't think he has one right now. So there we go, he's going to finally use the Gouache skill. So before he was using the Nightrose skill to bring out the King Serpent and get himself another soul charge, and now using the Gouache to call out the bone. And let's see what else he takes. He's going to call out the Night Storm, and I believe he still is able to get one more card, so he's going to kill off the Grenache and call out the Nightrose crit. So, and now the Nightrose crit, the Bone, and the Night Storm are the ones that have the, well, very small power buff for now from Gouache. So, now Miltae has to decide how does he want to respond to this Night Storm attack. And it looks like he's going to take it, so it's quite small, but he does get the stand trigger, which is quite nice for him, I'm not going to lie, that is definitely very nice. Oh, and Gungnir is going to be killing off his Tommy in order to put in the 2 crits into the soul, get 2 more cards and 2 more soul, which is definitely good for a deck like Nightrose. So, now he's swinging with his Gouache, and, you know, like, Gouache is just such a good Grand Blue stride. Like, it's such a strong stride because you have all these ways to generate soul and just to keep refilling it on and on and on and on and on, and like being able to convert like all the soul that you're able to generate into units and power is definitely very good. So now it looks like Miltae is going into Negro Lily, so this is going to be, well, the play coming through. So he did retire the Lazy and brought back the Lazy with Nightrose's skill. And he also got himself the grade 1 Ghosty that went back to that, got him a counter charge, and with the Lazy skill he got himself the Ghosty stand. So overall he's going for the more defensive route because he does want to, well, essentially survive throughout this turn, despite, you know, he does have quite a few cards in hand, but it is the mirror match that he's facing, so it's definitely going to be quite tricky. So let's see, so he's still keeping the Lily there just to show that it is, you know, happening essentially, but I believe he's still missing, or at least I'm not sure how much shield he still needs for this, but probably I think it's still either the 2 to pass or 1 to pass right now. It might be a 2 to pass now, it's a 3 to pass, I believe. So he gets the crit in the Nightrose and I believe the Serpent. So this is going to be, it does have the buff from the Gouache. Oh, never mind, he's just going to drop the Rook and that's going to be the end of it. So now he's going to use the Bone and he retires the Rook, and let's see what he calls back out. He's going to call out the Grenache, and now the Grenache is going to be able to do all the counter-charging shenanigans. And, oh no, never mind, he doesn't do the Grenache it seems. He took out the Lazy instead, so that's going to get him out either another, could get him another attack, could get him a booster. So we'll see what he decides to do with this. He might be looking for another Bone. No, I don't think he's looking for Bone. He's going to take out the Grenache and probably hollow it. Sadly, we don't have the audio, and once again, just to mention it one more time for the third game, this is not my recording. This is a recording from Japan in the Saitama region for their VGCS. So if the camera quality is not as great and it's a bit shaky, and also there's no sound from the players, that's basically just because of how the source material was handled. So now it's going to be the end of Gungnir's turn. So he's got himself all the counter charges as expected from a Nightrose player. So let's see what he decides to, well, what he decides to bring back, because he is using the Nightrose skill and he's bringing back the Lazy, and he's going to use the Lazy to Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and let's see what he's going to call out. He has a fairly nice hand now. He's built up a lot of advantage throughout this turn, So let's see if he can protect with everything that Miltae is going to throw at him. So let's see what he's going to bring back. Will it be the Cannoneer? Because that's not the worst choice, obviously. There's a little bit of shakiness on the table. And okay, it is the Cannoneer. Let's see if he's going to use it immediately. Yes, he is. He's going to get rid of that Lazy that's sitting there. And the Cannoneer immediately dies because that was still happening at the end of turn. And he has a total of, I believe, 11 cards in hand. So definitely a considerably huge, well, large amount of cards in hand. But that is how the Nightrose deck works. And you know, there's already been some BCS qualifiers already in English, and it doesn't seem like Nightrose has been topping as much. There's been more like Luard that I've been surprised by, but it's still interesting to see how Nightrose hasn't been doing that much in English yet. So now Miltae goes for the Dragoot, which is the GR of the Rami Labyrinth set, and with the Nightrose skill he does get himself a King Serpent, and then the King Serpent does nullify that counterblast cost and gives him a Soul Charge. So Dragoot does cost a total of 2 counterblasts, so it is considerably more than most other Grand Blue Strides, and I believe there's some sources being checked, well, resources being checked, just to see what kind of cards are still available for any combos that may happen, so that Gungnir can, well, get himself ready for whatever might be coming, and, you know, start counting some numbers, and just overall get ready for anything that he still has to protect himself from, which is going to be coming from Miltae's side. So, he's going to be... I'm not too sure what exactly he's... Okay, he's calling out the Lazy, so he was just thinking what to call out next. And it is a fairly tense moment of the game because they're both on high amounts of damage. I believe they're both on 5 actually. So, you know, they're both able to use up a lot of counterblasts for combos and just also on the edge because of how much damage they do have. So, the Lazy has been used and now the Dragoot has been activated as well. So he does have 3 units, so he's able to call out that many. And let's see, and then, well, that one and only unit that Gungnir has is going to get retired, and Miltae will get the draw from that. So it's definitely good for him. He calls out the new Grade 1 Shade, so he might be seeing some action. So, well, as long as it does get retired. But let's see. Okay, I think that's the last card he's considering. Okay, he's the King Serpent, which is going to give him the counter charge. Yes, so he's counter charging and soul charging 1 as well. So the King Serpent was a good idea there, I think. Definitely. Like, it's good that he has at least 1 open counterblast to work with now, despite doing all that. So now Gungnir did lose his Negro Lazy, but he is going to use the Nightrose skill to mill 3 and bring back the Lazy in the back row this time. And he's going to use the skill immediately to counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and let's see what he's going to call out. Could it be the Skeleton Cannoneer? I don't think he has the counterblast for that actually. So it might be... Okay, it's the King Serpent so that he can immediately counter charge and soul charge on his opponent's turn. So the amount of things you can do on the opponent's turn thanks to Nightrose's GB2 is quite amusing, I'd say. So definitely cool to see, and you know, not something you would see in a lot of other decks, but that's just how Nightrose works. So he's attacking now. Miltae is attacking with the Rook, boosted by the new Shade, and now they're still checking all these resources, checking for triggers, checking for all these things that could possibly matter even the slightest in terms of, you know, progressing the game. So they're checking the soul, checking the drop zone, checking the damage zone, everything, because all of those things matter when it comes to Grand Blue, especially the Nightrose deck. So let's see, they're still going through all these resources, checking everything possible. So, you know, it's understandable. I definitely get, you know, there's a lot of pressure at the top tables, and Gungnir doesn't have that many cards in the deck either, so he has to plan ahead accordingly. And he does Perfect Guard, and I'm not sure if he has one in the drop zone or not, because I don't think I've seen one yet, but okay, it appears he does. He's probably going to show it now. Yes, there it is. So he does have the Perfect Guard in the drop zone, that's good, so he gets the counter charge. He has 2 open combats now to work with, which is also definitely good. So if he does potentially go for the Lily, now, nope, he's gonna go for the other Perfect Guard, and now getting himself another counterblast open, so definitely good. And Miltae gets a stand trigger, which is so good for his Rook, definitely well worth it. Well, you know, any trigger is usually worth it, but it's definitely a good situation for him to get it in. So now this Rook's attacking with even more power, and never mind, he's just gonna drop the 10k, and that's gonna be the end of it. And now he's attacking with the Lazy, and let's see how Gungnir will protect it, and he's dropping the crit and the King Serpent intercept as well to protect from that attack. So this will be the end of Miltae's turn. He's just undoing all of his hollows, and there's quite a lot to go through now. So There's 2 open counterblasts coming in, and there's going to be another 2. And let's see, now it's going to, I believe he's going to be using the new Shade, which, if I remember correctly, does call out a grade 1 from the drop zone, if I'm not mistaken. Or a grade 2. I wasn't too sure exactly what it calls out, because this is the first time I think we see it used. But yeah, so it is nice that he gets the Skeleton Cannoneer out, so definitely nice. And he is also quite low on cards in the deck, so I'm not sure if he's going to use the Nightrose skill to do anything else with that. But let's see what he does, because the turn is still not over, it's still going, but it really doesn't look like Miltae has that many cards left in his deck, so I'm not sure if it's worth going for another Grenache just to countercharge the last 2, because 3 is already a good number to work with. But I think Miltae is done with, oh no, he's gonna use it, he's gonna use the Nightrose GB2, so he does mill 3, and he's gonna call out the Lazy to use its skill immediately to counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. And is he calling out... Okay, so instead of the Cannoneer, he called out the King Serpent to Soul Charge 1 as well, so that's depleting his deck even more. But, you know, it is understandable. But I'm not sure, because like his sleeves are just 1 color, so it's kind of hard to see how many cards he has exactly, because of the quality a little bit. But, you know, that's we're just gonna try to do the best we can with what we have. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 4 or 5 cards in his deck, but there shouldn't be any more than that. So now it is finally Gungnir's time to try and finish off this game, because Miltae still has a considerable number of cards in hand, and you know, his field is also looking pretty good despite being the opponent's turn. So Gungnir has dropped the Stride Fodder, which is the old Nightrose, and let's see what he's gonna go into, because he does have 3 open counterblasts, so the Dragoon is also possible, but he's probably considering, oh, he's gonna ride the Nightrose and then drop another 2 cards, which is a pretty interesting play, because it gives him more soul to work with, while still obviously keeping the Nightrose there. And now he's gonna use the Nightrose to call out the King Serpent, and now he's using the Gouache to, I think he Soul Blasted 2 if I'm not mistaken, and he's gonna flip the Gouache face up, and let's see how many units he actually... I didn't catch if it was 2 or 3 that he Soul Blasted, because I think he had 3 soul, if I'm not mistaken. But okay, he calls out 1, he's got 2 units. Okay, I think he Soul Blasted... Okay, I think he Soul Blasted 2 if I'm not mistaken. So now he gets another King Serpent and the Bone, but you know, that does deplete his deck quite considerably. But okay, there's a little bit of a debate. Once again, we can't hear the player voices, so there's not much that we can get from that apart from their body language. So the King Serpent is used to countercharge 1 and Soul Charge 1, and you know, going back to a nice amount of soul. And there's a Lazy coming out, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to call out something else. It's going to be the Ghosty Stand, and now the Ghosty Stand is immediately used and retired to go back to the deck, so Gungnir doesn't deck out, I believe. Well, he would still have enough cards, but he's calling out the... It seems he's calling out the Banshee Crit as well to draw an extra card, and now I'm not sure what exactly he got, but I think it might have been the heal, which isn't that great. Would have been best to drive check that, you know, but I'm not too sure. I didn't quite catch what exactly he drew into, because it was quite fast and I just didn't manage to catch a glimpse of it. Maybe you guys did, but you know, he still does have only 1 card in hand, so this is do or die for poor Gungnir. So let's see if he can close out the game now. That's definitely going to be good for him. He has 6 cards in the deck, I believe, either 6 or 7. I think it's 6 though, so that's definitely enough for, well, for the 3 drive checks, but it's not going to be enough for a Nightrose GB2 if he wants to, if that was even a thought, but I really don't think it was. So Miltae drops the perfect card for this one, and he's confirmed if he has one, so he does have one, so it's going to be a counter charge for him. Definitely nice. And now he gets the crit. It goes to the King Serpent, the Ghosty grade 1, and another King Serpent. So that's going to be a, I believe was the Bone used? I'm not sure if the Bone was called off, or if both of them were called off from the Gouache skill. I believe they both were, so they get a considerable amount of power bonus, but it doesn't matter too much because Miltae gets the perfect card. And now Gungnir has one final try, well, not necessarily final, but he does pull out, well, the Negro Bone skill, and now he's gonna, let's see which attacker he goes into, because whatever he goes into now will determine how many more attacks he's gonna have. But it looks like he's thinking of the Night Storm. If he does, then he's gonna be able to get something else out of there. So, okay, he's gonna go for the Night Storm. and that's gonna be, should be, no, he's not going for the nice armor, so he was considering, but did not go for it in the end. So, now he's gonna go for the lazy, okay, so now he's probably most likely, let's say, he's gonna get himself another attacker. There it is. He did keep that heal standing for a reason, so it is gonna get him another unit, and there we go, there's the ghosty stand. There's gonna be a 9k, I believe, and that's gonna be a considerably larger attack. I didn't have time to calculate it, but Miltae does protect that as well. So Miltae managed to protect himself from pretty much everything in this turn. Definitely amazing to see. And he's putting like the ghosty stand, so I think he has 3 cards left in deck, Gungnir that is, but he kind of drops it in a very, you know, in a manner that shows that, you know, he's barely got cards in hand, and I really don't know how many heals he's got or anything, so, if any, really. So it looks like Miltae is just going for this final push with Dragoon. He's going to try to close out the game right now. He's calling out his ghosty stand. I think they might be in time, actually. I'm not too sure, because the sudden movements have definitely gone up and become much faster. So, wow, okay. This is definitely going very fast. Miltae is just going from combo to combo to combo, and he just wants to finish out the game fast and also keep his deck alive without decking out. He calls out the new Nightrose. That's the first time we see that, which I believe does let him bring out another unit behind her. And he does get this ghosty back, and I believe he's going to probably use this ghosty as well. Yeah, he's going to put that ghosty back as well. So he's got a lot of stand triggers left in his deck, but you know, that's part of the magic of Nightrose again, that it's able to return all these stands back to the deck after they're retired, and that way keep themselves afloat without decking out. So I believe now Miltae does, never mind, so Miltae just wins straight up from that attack, and this is a 2-1 victory for Miltae against Gungnir. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in to this best of 3 series of Miltae versus Gungnir in this Saitama VGCS finals. I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I did commentating it, and I hope to do much more in the future as well. So that's pretty much it for me today, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.